Okay. Hi.
Hi, Ramon. Thank you so much for being here today. I understand you have a little clip you wanted to play before we begin our interview.
Yes, yeah, we can. Let me show you here.
What a great way to get us started. Thank you so much. Great video. I have the huge honor today to introduce you to Ramon Vila. He is truly a man of many talents. He's a journalist, a media businessman, an avid traveler, and we are here today to discuss his debut novel, Beyond Intensity. Beyond Intensity is quite a journey. It covers so many weighty topics from psychology, different manifestations of loneliness, the depths of human connection, and the social contradictions that we all live with. Ramon, is there anything you'd like to add to your bio? Anything you want everyone to know about the man behind this work?
Nah, don't worry. I prefer you to ask you that you can ask, because it's always better. I don't like to present myself.
I know, it's always uncomfortable. So I just want to thank you again for being here today, for giving us this opportunity to get a little bit more insight into this world that you've created and these characters. I did want to say, we talked a little bit about this, but I feel such a close connection to this story. A big part of it is because my work translating it fell during the strictest part of the Colombian quarantine. So I was stuck at home basically on house arrest. And this was what I felt the only connection I had to the rest of the world. And I am so grateful to have this opportunity to bring it full circle and have this kind of conclusion, this opportunity to debrief a little bit with you. So thank you for that chance. I wanted to start out by asking a little bit about how this story came to be, what the inspiration, what the drive was to start writing this book.
Well, first of all, I'm sorry if you've been like with the lockdown with only working with that story. I hope not, to be like bearable somehow. but no, I mean, all this story, and somehow like it came to me like the very first inspiration was that I've always wanted to become a writer, like as a general feeling. That's something that it's been always there since I was a child. And that's something that, I mean, I've always had the motivation to really become an author at some point of my life. When I was a child, I did some poetry. I did one little novel. But let's say it was like the first time in my adult life in which I've seen like the conditions to write a story. And so, yeah, and the specific story of Beyond Intensity, that was. From one side, I mean, it was I had somehow like the need of taking out some like personal experiences in life, like some experiences that I had with or even myself or my close relative or my close friends, and that's something that to me was a way of somehow like going to the psychologist somehow, or and then yeah, at some moment I was even asking myself if what shall I do? Like to go to the bar and get drunk, or to write a book? Basically, I did both, and that was somehow the output. Yeah, so basically, as an overall summary, I would say that was like a need of sharing some vital experiences, some reflections, and as well to bring my opinions about how I see society, how I see the intergenerational relationships and human values in today's world.
So yeah, I have a follow-up to that just occurred to me. is there, in your professional life, working in the business world with journalism, with storytelling through media, what role did that play in your desire to write this book? Was there anything of like, you're always telling other people's stories and now you get to tell your own? What are the similarities and differences? What piece of your professional life came or found itself through this writing?
Yeah. I mean, as you were saying, yeah, some part it's there, like because when I mean, I studied journalism. That's my the profession that I studied too, and that I've been working for many years. I work as well on the communication sector. So yeah, somehow, but at my professional work, I'm always like telling the stories of other people, other organization, other stuff. So at some point, I want to tell my own story, my own reflections, and to bring my contribution to the world.
Absolutely. You talked a little bit about this decision. Do I go to the bar? Do I write? I love that you decided to do both, but I'm wondering if we could get a little bit more information about the circumstances for your writing. Did you write at the bar? Did you write at home? Where did the creativity from this come from?
Yeah, well, basically, to write the book, I did it during my holidays. And it took me like 6 holidays, so 6 years, let's say, to finish the entire writing. And normally, when I did my holidays in that period of my life, I was trying always to travel on my free time on holidays. And basically, the story started when I was in Brazil. That's where I had the idea to start writing. And then the work itself was done during my holidays in different Asian countries. I was in Thailand, in Cambodia, Vietnam, in the Philippines, Indonesia, in India. Basically, was in all these countries. And somehow, I mean, I think it's an interesting fact because the story itself is based in Barcelona. It's a very like local story based in Barcelona, which is my hometown. But maybe, I don't know, it was some kind of weird connection that when I was like so far away from Barcelona, I was in Brazil or in Thailand or Philippines. There I found the peaceful moments to really focus on the story, and from so far away be able to write a local story from my hometown in Barcelona.
I think that's so beautiful. And I actually want to say you can definitely feel that in the text, that love for Barcelona, that nostalgia for the city, not just the visual part, but emotionally, you feel it in your writing. It's very, very powerful. So I really love that. I also think Tony, who our main character, would be very, very proud that his story was being told from all corners of the world, being such a passionate traveler and connoisseur of world cultures himself. We'll talk a little more about him in a little bit. But I think it is so fitting that you wrote this over multiple countries and continents. I think that's beautiful. And also related to your discussion about missing Barcelona, about writing this from being elsewhere, I wanted to say I really, really loved your decision to leave those phrases in Catalan, those words in Catalan. That's something that really, really struck me translating, and something that I worked really hard to preserve also. I think that adds so much to the text because you really do feel like you're there, like you're a part of it. It really contextualizes the story well. So I really love that you shared that with us. It makes so much more sense. So just to debrief a little bit, I would really love if you could introduce to us briefly who your main characters are, a little bit about what makes them tick, just so we're all on the same page talking about them from here on out.
Okay. Sorry if I gave you too much work with all these like local expressions in Catalan or in Spanish. I'm sorry for that, but I think that was something that it was like necessary to really to make the characters speak the way language is spoken in Barcelona, so to make it like realistic, and so that you can really feel that the characters are really based from Barcelona. Sorry about that.
No, I loved that. That was one of my favorite things. Our editor Catalina and I talked about that so much. It was something I really, really loved and appreciated in the writing. So definitely.
Cool. So yeah, so then the characters, basically the story is an intimate story between 3 characters. Let's say the first one is Tony Martí. He's a person who has been chasing an intense life for the past 15 years of his life. He's been traveling the world. He's been like to more than 40 countries, having all kind of experiences, having all kind of jobs, doing all kind of sports. He's been, I don't know, working as a waiter, as surf instructor, as a scuba diver instructor. Like he's been working with the different local tribes, with different NGOs, with different organizations. He's been in many different parties. He had many different friends, colleagues, girlfriends, partner colleagues. He's a person that has been trying to really squeeze life as much as possible and to really take the main intensity available in every second of his life, and hence the title of the book. And then when at some point he decides to come back to his hometown, Barcelona, then he really gets, when he's back in his hometown city, he really feels that he doesn't belong anymore to that society. And somehow he feels really out of society. And somehow like depressed, and his way of expressing his depression is by getting addict to drugs. And he ends up being like cocaine addict, and basically because of that he commits a little crime, and he's sentenced by a judge to do social work. Here is when he has the obligation to take care of an old man, which is the second character, Mr. Juan. This guy is a person that has been always living in Barcelona all his life. He had a family, he had a business, he had a lot of employees. He's a person that has been like very committed to his family and to his world. He has never ever traveled. But on the latest 15 years of his life, while Tony was traveling the world, he was left alone at a residence for old people. And he was basically, his family left to live to other countries, and he's been completely alone and led by society. And somehow these two characters play a little bit the role of yin and yang, with the idea that the Tony, who is a young person in age, somehow is an old soul, is a person that has lived many things, and sometimes he's a bit like tired of living. And on the contrary, Mr. Juan, he's a person that even though he's very old in age and he's left alone by society and so on, he still wants to be alive, and he still somehow has let's say maybe a young soul, and that's why he play a little bit. They play this role of yin and yang, which one has what the other doesn't have. And then the third character is Lucia, that she's the owner of the old residence. And she's a person that she's been always following the social rules. She's been always like following the instructions that society tells us on how to live. She's been always doing what her parents told her to do. And in fact, she's managing that business because it was the business of her parents. And when their parents, they retired, they told her to continue with the family business. So she is working there in that job. But it's a job that doesn't motivate her at all. She's frustrated at a personal and professional level, and as well, she's really alone. And basically, that's the connection. That's the line that connects the three dots. The three characters, what they share is that the three of them, because of being so pure, because of following their own way of understanding the world, they have ended up, the three of them, completely alone, completely left by society, somehow a bit depressed or a bit in crisis. And that's when the novel starts, because life at some point they put us together, and that's what is the novel about.
Definitely. I don't know if you want to answer this. Feel free to say no. But are any of your characters based on real people you know?
Yes, of course. Of course. That's always. Yeah, I mean, most of them are real people, or even some of them, or some situations, maybe a mix, of like real situations, or a mix of like a situation that happens to one person or the other, or that I put it together. But yeah, that was the part that I was telling you at the beginning. That this book for me has been like somehow a way of like sharing with the outside world some like personal experiences. Personal life experiences of me, my friends, my family, like the world around me, and that's why I had the need of like transforming this into a novel, and be able like to from my side to digest it into a creative way that can be transformed into a story, and that allows like a storytelling to happen.
Definitely. Which of your characters was the most challenging to create and write about, and why?
The most challenging, yeah. Well, maybe I would say Lucia, because she's the only one that is not inspired in one single person, I would say, because both Tony and Juan, they are really inspired in specific person that I know. But in the case of Lucia, she was let's say like a bunch of different personalities that I wanted to unite in one single character, and maybe that's the one that I had to think more about how to create that character.
Yeah, definitely. Do you have a favorite scene or chapter in the book? And if so, which one and why?
Well, I have some, yeah, most probably I have one chapter in the sense where they're having a discussion between Juan and Tony, and basically when he's saying that, hey, you are too old to still be a kid, but you are too young to be close to death. And somehow, because somehow it summarizes some part of the spirit of the book. Yeah, maybe if I have to choose one, I would say maybe this reflection.
Yeah, definitely. And then I'm really curious about the opposite of that. Which scene or chapter was the most challenging for you to write, and why?
The most challenging, well, maybe the ones that are connecting one story with the other. There's because I know very well like the main storyline that I wanted to follow. I know, of course, like some social reflections that I want to introduce at the book, but maybe let's say the parts in between, when between one idea and the other one, like the glue sections, if we can call it somehow. Maybe that was the most challenging part, and maybe because of this is my first book, so of course maybe as a beginner writer, I still need to to work on that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm also wondering, which scene, character, or plot line changed the most from your first draft to the finished product? Which one went through the biggest evolution?
The biggest evolution. Yeah, well, maybe I would say the final chapter, but I cannot I cannot tell. So,
Absolutely. We'll leave that as a surprise. People will understand when they get there.
okay, let's say that I can only tell that I wanted to do like a final change at the very end. So I didn't want to end the book like in a Disney movie that they are happy, they marry, and they have kids.
Yeah, you wanted something weightier, more realistic. That definitely makes sense considering the tone of the book as a whole.
Yes, yeah, of course, because I mean, I think that is not this a story like written, let's say, from the stomach somehow. No? It's something that it's somehow. I mean, at least the first chapters, I was like vomiting them at the very beginning. It's like, and that's the feeling I had, and I think that this kind of story needed to. I mean. It couldn't end like in a happy way and the world is perfect and like all these American movies that at the end they're happy and, and the world continues. But always to show somehow the uncomfortable relation with life.
Absolutely. I think you do justice to your characters that way also, because they all have a very different perception of reality, but they are all very much realists. So I appreciate that, how that translates. Ramon, I'm wondering, how do you think your own ethical outlook and beliefs about life have informed your writing in this novel?
How to inform? Sorry, what are you saying?
How your own ethical outlook and beliefs about life have informed your writing of this novel?
Well, yeah, I mean, of course, I think that it happens with all authors that at some point, well, everybody's bringing its own vision of the world somehow. Of course, I mean, I would never ever write about a Japanese kitchen. That's obvious. Yeah, of course. I mean, somehow I'm bringing my own reflections. Maybe it's been more obvious when I speak about what is called in Barcelona about the civic behavior. That is a word that I personally hate in Barcelona. That because it's a word that's been used by the local city hall in the latest years as a way of justifying the way of like cutting freedom as a citizen in the city of Barcelona. And probably there is where I was like more like expressing my rage against the misuse of the word civic behavior, which is nice as a concept, but I think that it's been somehow like misused by this local city hall of Barcelona in the past 15 years or so on.
Wow, so we have a political commentary too. I like it. So you were talking a little bit about how it's inevitable for authors to be influenced by their own outlooks on life. So I'm wondering, who are some of your personal favorite authors and how have they influenced your life and your writing?
Yeah, well, I have some of them. Well, I mean, for example, from Milan Kundera, for example, I love the way of he portrays human relations. I think it's excellent that. As well from Dostoevsky, for example, I really appreciate the way he really explores the human consciousness and how and the feeling of self-punishment for your own acts. I think he's excellent at that. I love as well, I don't know, from Hemingway, the two faces of him, the face of the young Hemingway, like with this willingness to explore the world and to be very, very alive. And but I even like more like the old Hemingway when he was alcoholic, alone, but with much more to tell in life, and when he was furious against the world, against himself, probably. I think that's excellent, excellent writer. Well, and many others. I like as well, like from the Beat Generation. I also like Henry Miller. The way he explains how it doesn't matter to fight for the world because the world itself is a joke. I mean, there are like many different authors that I appreciate a lot as well. I love how French one, Frédéric Becbédé, that he's excellent at to me, at making the acid critic of society. And showing like the nonsense of society and how we are all like stupid puppets belonging to this crazy society that we live in. But yeah, but this can take to a long conversation.
Definitely. I do want to pause for a moment and give a big thank you to everybody joining us during our live stream. Thank you so much for your comments and congratulations. I do see that we have one question from Elita, which is, was Beyond Intensity your first choice of a title? And what were the other options? How else would you have titled your book differently?
Yeah, well, I had some. In fact, I first wrote the book without title, and the title, it was something I put it at the very end. And yeah, I had some other ideas, but at the end, I decided to go for Beyond Intensity. Basically, because I think that my idea is that overall, despite the story that it's been told in the book, I wanted to use this book somehow to make a reflection using the character of Tony, in the sense that to ask the question is whether is it possible to live an intense life, so to have a life, let's say, full of nice things and interesting things to do, but without the yonky addiction of having to do all the crazy things of life. I don't know, like jumping from a parachute, I don't know, going to do kayaking, being drug addict, having a marriage or a divorce. So if it's possible to have, let's say, a complete life experience without being an addict to these moments of of high emotions or of high passion, and basically it could be as a big summary somehow. Like this internal dispute between the short-term pleasures and the mid-long-term pleasures of life. Somehow it's a reflection on that.
So we do have one more question that I see here in the comments from Mario. how was the work behind the book in the sense of its construction from an editorial point of view? We tried to get our editor here to be on this call with us, but that's a better question for her. I know, Ramon, you had a little bit of a closer opportunity to see what the editorial process was like. Do you have any insights about that you'd like to share? And then I can talk a little bit about the translation process afterwards.
Sure. Well, to me, it was like the first experience, like to publish a book. I'm completely new on that, and yeah, of course. I mean, and I can really notice that. I mean, it's a process that it's hard. I mean, it takes time. So I mean, I thought that the hardest part was to write the book, but then I discovered that it's not the hardest part only. Then starts all the rest. And yeah, of course, it's very good and interesting experience. Then it was very nice the discussion that we had with Catalina, because, for example, from what you were saying at the beginning, that some words they were kept left like in the original, let's say, slang from Barcelona, and that's why we decided at the end to put at least, what's the name? Sorry, for this section in which you put the translation of some local expressions.
We had a glossary at the end.
Yeah, the glossary. Sorry, I forgot that. So that's why we took the decision of keep the original words in this like slang from Spanish or even some words in Catalan, just to keep it there, and then we put the glossary to retranslate some expressions for the overall part at first, like mainly for the readers in Latin America, and then nowadays in English for to the outside world. Because I mean, I think that it was like kind of necessary, and we like having this discussion with Catalina whether to keep the words or leave it, and that's where was a very fun part.
Absolutely. And so a little bit more insight about the translation process. It was a big challenge to translate this book. So not only was it Ramon's debut novel, but it was also my first time translating a novel of this length. Everything else I've done have been like in person or shorter works. So it was definitely a challenge for me. I have spent time in Barcelona, but my Spanish is Colombian Spanish. It's Latin American. So it was very, very difficult to try and keep the tone, the personality, the colloquialism. Also because my experience more than anything has been translating professional or technical documents. So having to learn how to transmit the way you'd speak on the street, the way you'd speak to your friends, taking those phrases and really doing them justice, trying to maintain the character of the people that are saying these things was very, very challenging. I went back and forth, re-editing, asking people. I really hit almost all of the contacts that I have that speak Spanish because I would ask people in Colombia, hey, what does this mean? And they're like, I have no idea. We don't say that. So that was definitely a challenge, but it was very, very rewarding. I feel like my Spanish improved. I'm excited to try out my Catalan slang if I ever make it back to Barcelona. So it was a very interesting process from the translation side as well.
Well, I'm sorry. I'm not pretty sure that you have like really like improved your Spanish because it was really the whole book was full of like slang expressions of saying like some like an incorrect words and very expressions that are not very polite. So
yeah, I think I learned a lot that I'm hopefully never going to have the opportunity to say.
Yeah. But at least, I mean, now you know how to survive in the streets of Barcelona at night. So.
Absolutely. So now that we're having this conversation about like publishing, translating more like the mechanics of this, is there anything that you know now that you wish you had known at the beginning of this writing publishing journey?
That it's complicated. I mean, probably I would maybe just have thought from the beginning and trying to involve, I don't know, someone who's a bit famous on the sector, someone some kind of like godfather who could be like assisting in the promotion or so on. Maybe that would be something I could think about, and maybe what I would make it different would have been like to ask for opinions while I was writing the book. So maybe to be able to listen to opinions in the process of writing.
Definitely. I love this next question. Ramon, what do you think of the prologue of the book?
Well, I can only say nice words, particularly because I'm pretty sure that the prologue itself is watching.
That's why I'm laughing. I recognize the name.
No, I mean, now talking seriously now. I mean, I was really honored to receive the contribution of Angel, who's a very good friend of mine, because I mean that was like a really like personal story, and when I really read the prologue when the first time he sent me, I was really crying at that moment, and to me it was very emotional because I mean it's not easy to really get to someone's mindset, to someone's heart with any piece of art. And I mean, I think that we really got this connection. I really felt that connection from his side, and that was like super emotional to me. And I mean, it's an honor to have him on board. Yeah, and that's something like very magic. The drive, I mean, that really keeps me motivated to try to continue on this writing process because these situations are magic.
Wonderful. So I'm wondering, what were the major reactions of your family and friends when they first read this? Beyond the congratulations, the real reactions. What did they have to say about this and of seeing so much of you and your own life experience in this story?
Well, I mean, it depends on who you ask. I mean, some people they didn't like it because I was somehow like telling their own story in the book. So of course I changed the names, but some people like didn't like it at first. And of course, I mean the subject of the novel, no? which involved like a drug addiction, some crime commission. Of course, I mean that's not when you say, hey, I've got like a writer in the family. I mean, and then you actually get to know the subject of the writing and so on. I mean, it's not like I mean, it's talking about some, let's say, dirty areas of society. But I think that's part of the life. And precisely, I mean, in any case, everybody that they know me from before, I know that I have the need of of digging deep into society's contradictions and so on. So I think that they accept it well, and why not? That's how it's like.
Yeah, absolutely. We do have a question here. This was one of my questions also. What's next for you, Ramon? Do you see yourself writing more books? Can we hope for a new story? What's next for you?
Well, the next step, I mean, I'm going for a second novel. In fact, I mean, thanks to the Corona shit, I've been having a bit of time during this lockdown period, and I have already started writing a second story, and I wish to find the time to finalize it. But yeah, I would definitely go to produce a second book, and I wish to have it ready. I don't know, maybe hopefully next year. Let's see when this happens. But yeah, I want to continue.
That is so wonderful to hear. I'll be looking forward to it. And then I guess I have one big question: is what do you hope readers will take away from this story?
Well, maybe you can ask them, but I mean, of course, always and every story is always very personal because two people then can read the same book and have different opinions. That's the magic of not only literature but all kind of artistic expressions. So, well, I mean, I hope that people would take at least a human story. I would expect that people at least they would at least have the time to take a reflection, to take of how society is, of which are like the social challenges that we're facing right now, as well. I mean, I want to talk a lot about the different intergenerational speech and debate between the generation of the old man of Juan and the generation of the young man of and Lucia and Tony. And I would like to take some reflections because I think that today's world has very positive things. like this all these connections with the internet, and we're very fast and very travelers and very trendy and fashions and so on. But on the other side, today's world is very empty, and there's no the effort, the commitment. It's something that is not trendy anymore. And so I think that both generations, they had good and bad things to bring, and I wanted to at least to reflect on that, to really take something from each generation.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your insights. I'd like to give one last invitation to you, Ramon, if there's anything else you want to add, and if anybody has any further questions, just to start to wrap things up.
Yeah, well, I mean, what I would like to share is that I'm very curious to know which is the feedback of anybody like who's able to read the story. And I would like to listen to them, because at the end of the day, I think that literature is always like playing tennis. No? You give some story, but you expect it to come back to you and to other people. And because I would really like to learn from the experience, to learn as an author, and try to improve from that.
Absolutely. I also, speaking of that technical side, I would feel guilty, remiss, not giving a very special thank you and shout out to my editor in English, Ramon Cornish. He did such a detailed job of going through all of my mistakes. So I do want to give him a big thank you before we end things. I also want to let everybody know that this book is available on Amazon, on Google Books, on Kobo. We'll be putting all of the links on this post later on. I highly recommend that you check this book out. It will leave you thinking about society, about identity, about human connection. It will give you a lot to ponder. So if there's any further closing questions or comments from anybody, we are open to it. Ramon, anything else you wanted to add?
Well, I want to thank you for being there, for doing all this tedious translation that I know it's been hard, and yeah, and I wish that we can continue publishing more ideas, more books, because it's been an amazing experience. And now that nobody's listening, I wish to really make it even as a professional activity. Why not?
Absolutely. A big thank you also to Catalina, our editor, and the person behind all of our technical comment coordination. So gracias, Cata. Any other thank yous you want to give out? Okay, well, Ramon, it has truly been a pleasure. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you, everybody, for joining us and listening and giving us your congratulations and your questions. It has been such a pleasure.
Thanks to you.
Have a great rest of your day.
Take care. And happy holidays to everybody.
Happy holidays.
Bye-bye.